Hey, it's Tuesday. We're back with the best damn pod in the land. You guys may notice Dan's not here. He's still out being vice president of houses in the world or something. And man, he was so mad. I couldn't. I had to do it again. But I have
Wonderful.
Terry T from College Football Stop, and you guys, I'm sure you know from last week, Juck on Bucks. Juck's back. So thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna do this at the top. Terry, tell everybody where they can find you on YouTube and otherwise.
So at CFB_stop on Twitter is where you find me mostly. And then I've been doing some shows on Best Damn Media with Ron, Mike, me and Mike on every single Wednesday. The Fans Edge. That's our kind of all around college football show. And then I usually end up on the Buckeye Roast one morning. So make sure you watch that every morning.
Yeah, Ron and Q, good dudes, friends of ours as well. So, and Juck, if they don't know, we have a lot of crossover. But Juck, tell everybody where you can find you and your merch.
Yeah, check me out at Juck on Bucks every morning at 9:30 on the Juck on Bucks channel or Menace to Sports. I will also be Thursday talking about the morning roast. This Thursday, I'll be on the morning roast with the fellas. And ColumbusApparelCo.com, my official sponsor, where you can find any of the cool stuff they put together or get some awesome screen printing done. They're a great company to work with. We absolutely love them. And I'm so happy to be back, Chad. Absolutely love rapping with you guys about the Bucks. My man Terry, obviously been on my show as well before, and he is excellent. I got so many compliments last time he was on, Terry. I don't think I've told you that. A lot.
Nah, you didn't ever tell me that, man.
A lot of compliments.
Yeah, I love to have Terry on. We had him on a while back when we were still like a young pod and growing, and we did like a Friends Week. I think you were on that week too, Chuck. So, yeah. So I'm gonna come out of the gate and tell you guys that you guys all, everybody watching, you guys know that I'm the rational one, and Dan is not. I'm not feeling very rational. So what the hell happened Saturday? And I don't care who goes first, but I am mad. I'm mad. I'm angry. I don't feel good about it. It makes me feel really bad in my stomach. I yelled so loud, I'm pretty sure my dad heard me in heaven. And my daughter literally ran and cried because when Rayola broke that run, I yelled, "What in the hell are you guys doing?" And now I'm going to lower my voice now, but I was really fired up. I've had this queued up for 3 days. What happened, guys? What happened?
I'll let you take it, Chuck.
Well, luckily, Chad, I've had several days of yelling on my show to be now calmed down, having watched the look. These guys seem to have a disconnect with what the intent is from the head coach, who goes in talking at Skull Sessions. Is not about words; it's about action. There is just some kind of disconnect. There seems to be something that's not quite clicking right with the senior leadership on this team, who I expected coming into this season, having foregone the NFL draft, the momentum, everything across the country. Everything was about these guys all off season. They were the traveling rock stars coming into the season.
Right.
And I expected some hungry, mad dogs ready to accomplish the goals that they've never accomplished. Not a thing. We've talked about it ad nauseum, and I almost feel bad for this class when people talk about them. They've not won anything, and they've dogged on them. And I expected all that to look like what you would expect, which is just a bunch of wild dogs out there flying around the football field, making plays, tons of juice, and we're not seeing it. And I think, to me, despite the puzzling coaching decisions that we had on Saturday, of which there were many, I think that is the thing that is most concerning to me, because you can fix the coaching decisions. I don't know at this point if we are going to see out of this group what we expected to see, what we've seen in so many Ohio State teams previously, which is that juice, which is something that's not quantifiable. You just know it when you see it, and you know when it's not there, and it's not there. And that, to me, is the thing that is, I want to say, scaring me the most, because I've been so high on this team, as have you guys, coming into the season. And slowly I feel myself kind of slipping away with it. It just feels dejecting, because I'm starting to think maybe they're just not who I thought they were. I think this game is going to tell it all to us, though.
Okay.
Absolutely, it is, dude. Just to kind of bounce off of what Juck was saying, I kind of feel, and I talked to you about this a little bit before the show, Chad. I kind of feel that I'm a lot more optimistic than most people are about this team right now. And I'm usually not that person. Like, if you follow my content, you know that that's not me. I'm quick to point out every little thing. But I really like what we saw from the defense. I think that they were kind of flying around. I think there was passion there, and I didn't realize it because of how the game went. But when I went back and watched that game, dude, they were hitting people hard almost every single play and getting up and celebrating. And, you know, to me, the defense looked like they had some energy. Like, JTT was screaming at the sideline. He's like, "I told you," whatever. Like, stuff like that is the type of energy that we're talking about, right? Now the problem is that the offense had none of it at all, and I don't know what, like, bouncing, like I said, off of what Juck said. There was some bad play calling going on. Now, obviously, you want your players to overcome that, but I mean, I don't know, dude. It seemed like the juice was just not there on offense at all. And I mean, they were throwing bombs in the beginning of the game. That's what doesn't make any sense. It's like, as the game went on, how did all of that juice go away? Like, I know that gave them energy and juice when they're hitting people over the top for, 40, 50-yard touchdowns.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, like, where's the passion? We are a passionate fan base, and I'll use that as a positive and negative term. And I just felt like I didn't see that Saturday. I didn't really see it out until the end of the game from the fans. And I will do a whole show on that someday. I swear I'm going to. I keep saying I'm going to do it, but about the sit down crowd. But the defense they came to play. They made some good plays. I question, like you do, Terry, and what Jack said to the play calling with the offense. I mean, it was almost like, and this is just me, it was almost like Ryan Day knew, like, if I can win this kind of any which way, I feel like winning it. So if I want to throw a haymaker to Jeremiah Smith, I can throw that at any time and win. So I'm going to work on some other stuff, like almost like a scrimmage. That's kind of how it felt to me. And Jack, maybe I don't know if you just rolled your eyes at me or not, but it kind of felt that way to me. Like, they're like, let's just try to run this side and then try to run that side, and let's try. And when they ran a couple times, they ran to counter. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, Luke Montgomery's on his butt in the backfield. Like, what are we doing?
There was a lot of stretch to the boundary, which really bothered me because that's like a Ryan Day tendency.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind the pitch into the C gap as much with Trey. I don't mind that as much because that play, it was working really well, especially early in the season. I don't mind that too terribly much because when they pull the guard and then hit the C gap, it was working, especially with Emeka cracking down. But so I'll turn that over to you guys. I'm going to ask you, and Jack, you probably answer this on your show, so I apologize if it's doubling up the rhetoric, but scrimmage, is that what Ryan Day was doing? He's just, let's see if we can run for 2.1 yards to carry and win the game for 30 times for the hell of it. Like, what was going on?
I think it's a really it's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought about it in that light. What I got an issue with is, to your point, it almost felt to me like, and like you said, they were rushing the ball for 2.1 yards a carry, and the run pass ratio was 31 runs to 16 passes, which is the biggest run to pass ratio that we've seen all season by a lot. And you chose a game where you couldn't run to do that. That was just absurd, baffling. I can't explain it. I still can't explain it today. My hope is, and right now, I mean, as we talk, the press conference is going on, that someone asked the logic behind that, because it was so glaringly odd that I feel like there has to be something behind it. It almost felt to me, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, but it almost felt to me like they were saying to that offensive line, to those backs, we are going to keep doing this until you guys get it right. And I understand coaching like that. I think there are certain situations where that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We've all been in a place like this with coaches of our own. Like, we know what that feels like. But when the game is in flux, that's not really a proper strategy.
Yeah, that's why I kept coming back. Why I said what I said. I felt like Ryan Day knew at any point, like, he could go win the game if he needed to. I don't know. Like, it was obvious to me that no matter who they put on Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate, they did a good job on Emeka Egbuka, but they didn't have enough depth to cover Jeremiah and Carnell. One of them was open every pass play. They just were. That was just the way that it was going. But yeah, I agree with you. It was, as a coach, I just did this 2 weeks ago. I had them run, and this is first grade. I had them run it 7 times in a row until they got it right. It was practice, but that's very much the way it felt to me too, Chuck. What about you, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. It just felt all out of whack. It almost felt like the Missouri game a little bit. Like even in the beginning of that game, when Devin Brown was in there, it felt wacky. Like we're running plays we've never really seen us run, or we're running like the same plays over and over again. You're not really seeing any kind of mixture there. And then on top of that, the players were making mistakes, dude. It just felt like everybody was not locked in. And I really struggled to believe that that's what this offense is going to be going forward. Like, I know the offensive line had their issues. Like, they got beat a couple times, obviously. Maybe even more than a couple times they got beat. But there was mistakes all over the field from, like, every single position. And it's just like somebody on the team has got to be locked in. And I would imagine that going into this Penn State game, which I'm sure we're going to get into in a minute, I'm going into this game, they have to be locked in. And I would think that Chip will be locked in. I think he'll come in with a good game plan where we'll be very multiple in the run game. That's why I'm kind of more optimistic about it than pessimistic, because that I actually expect to be fixed. And the things that I didn't think would be fixed, like the defense kind of being more aggressive and actually getting after the quarterback, those things were fixed, at least in the Nebraska game. So I feel optimistic about that too.
Well, so here's, I guess, for me, I'm going to pull this up on the screen. So I have the defensive line snap counts from the game. And you tell me if you think things are fixed, because to me, this doesn't look fixed.
Okay. And this is what I have deemed as the biggest issue on this team currently. This is what I think I have a tweet out there already that says it. This has to change. So I was talking about like the defensive play calling and just like the aggressive nature, but go ahead and get into this because this is ridiculous.
Yeah. So if you look at this, Jack, Tyleek, and Ty and JT, 64, 61, 60, 58. And if you go back to Georgia's national championship runs, Alabama's national championship runs, anybody that's won a natty recently, they kept their defensive line fresh by rotating throughout the course of the year and keeping those snap counts down under 30, 35, 30 a game. And here, like, these guys are playing almost the entire game. And I know the other thing that drives me crazy, and I don't know about you guys, and you guys can say what you want about it, but the Rushman package makes no sense to me to put Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson on the inside. You're giving the guard an easier time of it. You're giving him a 260-pound guy to block, and they can double. It baffles me. But the if they're going to make a real run, a real deep run, you guys, whatever order you want to go, the rotation has to get better. It has to.
I find this disheartening, guys. I really do, because all offseason we heard two very prevalent topics, unprompted, from this coaching staff. One of them was the depth. And not only was it from them, but it was from a lot of the guys on the 2 deep and the 3 deep. And we continually heard it every single time they spoke. We're all going to need to play. The season's so much longer, when in fact it's not really so much longer. They all repeated it over and over and over again. And my thought was, and what I said on the show many times was, they're either really intending on playing a lot of depth like we've not seen before, or this is an old habits die hard, and in the middle of the season, we're going to see them shrink back up to, okay, we got to play our best guys. We need to play our best guys more. And here we are, come crunch time, and it's back to the same old habits die hard deal. This looks exactly like it's looked like before. Those snap counts. I've heard more people clamor for Caden Curry than anybody else on this defense. 9 snaps for Caden Curry. You make a great point about the Rushman package. It absolutely makes no sense to have your 2 meathead defensive ends not come inside in that package. I don't understand it. I don't understand why they don't switch it around. But also, to Terry's point, they had a meeting of the minds last or Wednesday after the Oregon game to talk about what they were going to do to try to get some pressure. I love the way they came out against Nebraska. I love the way they were doing things. They were twisting, they were stunting, and giving the guys a chance to be aggressive like that wasn't just effective. It brought that juice out that Terry's talking about. My point about that was more the entire season, the scope of the season is what I expected to see. But specifically to that Nebraska game, he was absolutely right. Terry was in that statement. They were amped up because they let them be aggressive, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play like that, especially if you're going to play like that, you have got to keep these dudes fresh. And I've seen people point to Larry. This is Larry's issue. Nah, man. At this point, this is all heading back. This is a head coach issue to me. We put way too much blame on assistant coaches around here. This is the man in charge. You said they were going to play depth. If one of your assistants isn't doing it, that's on you. This makes no sense. And I'm going to tell you, this is the pessimistic side of me that thinks that a lot of the depth conversation may have very well been a extra incentive to keep guys from looking in the portal, which you could only use one time with this extended season. But we're going to play so much depth. Everybody's going to play because they all believed it so much. They all repeated it so much that it was clearly a message throughout the Woody. And it's a bad look when you've been telling them this all off season. And now you've gone from playing 80 guys to you played only 37 guys. It's dropped down substantially every single game. You played more guys against Oregon than you did against Nebraska. Every single game it's gone down. It's just another one of those things that I'm finding puzzling. I mean, we talk to people all the time who have this, like, why are you guys negative? We won the game. It's things like this. So you see these things and you see all these puzzling decisions and you project it going forward, right? Like, yes, we won that game, but what does this look like when you go against another team like Oregon, who's running tempo, and you've already established against Oregon, these guys cannot keep up playing this much in a game.
Right.
And if you're not used to doing it, you're going to go back to this habit again. It's just
up on
puzzling.
the screen. I have the last two games. I'm sorry, Jack. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
I was just going to say, up on the screen, I have the last two games. Oregon, Nebraska. Look at those counts. Sawyer 125, JT Tulimilawau 115, Tyleek 113, Hamilton 110. Kenyatta has the most at 32 the last two games, but Kenyatta played a lot more in the Oregon game, it seemed to me. So, guys, that can't continue. It just can't. Like, that's too much to make a run. They're going to be gassed before we get to Michigan.
Yep. And, I think they're dealing with two separate issues within that defensive line. I think in the interior, they're dealing with actual depth issues because if you watch when those backups get in, other than Caden McDonald, it honestly looks pretty bad. And I hate to say that because Hero Canoe especially was one of my guys. Yeah. But if you when Chad had the snap count up, Hero had 2 snaps in that game. One of them, he got pushed 12 yards off the ball on a double team. The other one, he got pushed like 5 yards off the ball on a one-on-one block, and they had big run plays on both of those plays that he played. So it's like, I mean, obviously they need to play those guys, but especially Caden McDonald, every time he gets in the game, it seems like he's in the backfield causing disruption. So I don't know. You can't expect defensive tackles to play that many snaps. And it shows up on film too. Like I was just watching the other day, Tyleek Williams is an absolute beast. I watched a play where he got pushed 10 yards off the ball on a double team, but he was exhausted, dude. It was like the 7th play in a drive, and they were running tempo, and then he got pushed off the ball, and he had already played 3 quarters of having no rest at all. You know what I mean? So that can't happen. They need to figure it out. But I do think it's a depth issue. When you get out to the defensive ends, to me, that's where it really doesn't make sense, because Jack Sawyer and JT are not that much better than Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, in my opinion, to where they can't rotate, and so that one's really puzzling. I mean, I know it's their last year. Maybe they're trying to throw them a bone and get them as many reps and stuff like that. But like at the same time, like then you're going to get them in a big game and they're going to get exhausted and they're going to look stupid on film, and that's going to hurt their draft stock. So,
yeah. I brought up the fact of Tyreek in the Oregon game when Chuck and I did the show last week. He didn't look right to me yet. His normal, like the way that he could shuck blocks and stuff. And I watched and rewatched and looked at the all-22. He just didn't look right. He didn't look like he was all the way back. He looked better on Saturday than he did the previous Saturday. Caden McDonald's been my guy for 2 years. I've been like on him. I keep saying they need to play more. For me, he's Mike Hall, but bigger. So he's a lot like Tyreek. But Mike Hall was always that quick off the ball disruptor, got in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to bring something up that I took some criticism on. I'm going to bring it up again. Tyreek, JT and Jack Sawyer getting 3 yards up the field in a wide 9 and leaving the middle of the field wide open. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. You can play aggressively, but you don't have to be in a wide 9. Raiola ran for 48 yards because we were 3 yards, 4 yards up the field on the ends. And I don't get it, because if you're playing true nickel, which we're playing a nickel safety, leaving you with 2 linebackers playing wide 9 leaves that middle so open. There's so much ground to cover. And I get we have athletic linebackers. Like Cody Simon played a hell of a football game. But maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't get it. It makes zero sense to me. You guys tell me if I'm crazy.
No, you're not. There's a lot of decisions that they do as a rule with those defensive ends, and we've been talking about it for years, right? I don't understand the stubbornness. This is, and by the way, these guys they get beat a lot on contain, right? Like you guard against this literally every play. Like this is your whole thing, and they certainly get beat a lot on it. So if you're going to get beat, can we at least see a little bit of variety here? Like, it doesn't make much sense to me.
That's why I've been so upset. Like look, man, I know I'm not like, I've coached, but I'm not, I'm not Ryan Day, but damn it. If I can see it in the all-22, what are we doing? And I think we've all talked about this. Like, if we all see it and the beat sees it, Doug LeMaurice laid into this. I'm just so frustrated. But I'm going to switch.
This morning, Chad, and I just feel like there are some times when you are so smart and so in the minutia of what it is you do for a living, that sometimes the most common sense things just kind of slip over your head. So it's all I can do to explain simple things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Common sense thinking just slips over your head. Like throwing Jeremiah Smith the ball 4 times in a game should never happen. You got the best weapon in college football, the very best weapon in college football. 90% of coaches, I contend, would guarantee that kid six a game. Throwing him 4 balls in a game, I think is borderline dereliction of duty. It's just insane. He's the biggest weapon in college football. Makes no sense. By the way, one of the balls you threw to him resulted in a 60-yard touchdown. You know what I mean?
Where he was open by 20 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had a safety on him.
All game
everything
long.
Else.
So, anyway.
I want to ask you guys this. I'm going to switch over to the offense. So, the very first game, it was the Akron game. They ran basically what I'll call a switch screen, which it would have been like through the C gap with Jeremiah Smith. He dropped the ball. You guys probably remember that play.
Yeah.
They ran a very similar play later on with Emeka Ibuka, and it worked. Where is that play? Like, why are we not running it again? Like that every time. I don't understand what we're doing. What are we doing? Okay. You guys can tell I'm in a mood about this. I really am. I'm sorry. You guys walked into a hornet's nest with this one.
No, listen, I understand. And honestly, that's why I'm optimistic, which is weird because I feel like they just didn't do like what they were supposed to do. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's not going to happen again. It's like our offense has been like this all year. We're being multiple in the run game. We're mixing in gap with stretch or with zone. We're doing all kinds of creative stuff. We're throwing screens. We're throwing RPOs. And then now we're just dropping back and getting sacked and running stretch to the boundary over and over again and getting beat because we're outnumbered. And it's just like, what? I don't know. That's why I think it was like a game plan thing. I think they underestimated Nebraska because Nebraska got stomped out by Indiana. And I think that game is the game in between the two big games. So I'm hoping that game is going to be the anomaly. I think Ohio State played decent against Oregon. Obviously, you don't want to take an L, but a lot went into that. If they play like that against Penn State, I think they'll win the game.
Well, absolutely. Juck's favorite play is stretch to the boundary, so be careful, Terry.
me and Juck might have beef now. I hate it.
I'm kidding.
I'm with Terry. I'm incredibly optimistic about a bounce back game here against Penn State. I also feel that this offensive line, if they go about it like I think we all think they're gonna with Donovan, Austin Saravalda, or Luke, I really don't care who they decide to put at left guard. I think either of them. If one's not good, you put the other one in. I think they're both capable of putting on a decent performance. I'm kind of excited to see if Luke can kind of come around. I don't understand why they, he was leading at right guard all through spring, through 11 practices, and then all of a sudden was third string. We talked about it for the spring game. But the way they got this line set up, I'm kind of optimistic. I know for sure it's going to look better than it did last week. And while we know that with Abdul Carter, they're going to absolutely be coming and bringing the heat. With what Will's got with his wheels, man, I have faith that they're going to bounce back. And I think that defensively, they're really going to have something for Penn State. So I feel good about this game. Like Terry said, I think a big bounce back spot's coming. You got a bad week, a bad feeling, a bad taste in their mouth. I'm pumped for this game, man. This is a top 3 game. It's always a great game. I'm so disappointed that we're not going to be playing this game next year and then it's a non-protected game, but that's another story. But I feel great about this week. I really do.
Yeah. Hey, can I say one more thing real quick about the offensive line?
We're going to continue with the offensive line. I'm going to ask you about your best 5. So.
Okay. All right. Well, real quick. A part of me wants to see Carson play, dude. A part of me wants to see Carson get back out there. I don't know, like Chad, listen, you go ahead and take it. Go ahead and take it, man. Go ahead. That's all I wanted to say. A part of me wants to see Carson out there. I kind of respect what he did for us last year, but you can go ahead and get into who you want as your 5, and we'll circle back.
I was going to ask you guys. So I think I just have some questions because, and I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know anything yet. I've asked repeatedly the last 3 days, and I'm not getting anything. It's pretty tight-lipped. But in the spring, and then even in the summer, Chuck, when that hand, foot, and mouth went through the locker room, Austin was the one that repped it left tackle behind Simmons. So I don't want to throw a wrench in the works because we know Austin was obviously playing well enough at right guard to get some reps. He was somebody I was high on in the spring when we did our show for predictions. I was like, I don't count on Austin at right guard, kind of thing, because I know you and Dan both really like Tegra because of his size. So I'm just curious because they moved guys around a lot, and I'm not out on Hinsman either, Terry. I like him a lot. I think it was probably tough playing guard all of his high school career and then his first year in the program and then moving him to center, right. And then he had his infamous podcast debut. But Terry, give me your 5, and then Juck, give me your 5 and why.
Yeah, and I said that about Hinsman, man, but I won't put him in my 5 just because he hasn't really been playing this year. For me, I would move Tegra to left tackle. I think Tegra has the most tackle experience out of between Donnie Jackson, Sierreveld, and Tegra because Tegra was repping at tackle at Ohio State for a while.
Though, correct? It was repping
right but tackle in general, none of them. I don't think either one of them other guys, other than Sierreveld in the spring or what you were just talking about,
summer
has played tackle. But I don't know. For me, I think I would put Tegra at left tackle and then Donnie at left guard and put Sierreveld in at right guard. Obviously, everything else is the same. That's still dangerous though, because I've seen Tegra do some off the wall stuff before. So I don't know, but I mean, I've also seen Austin Searveld have a defensive end or a defensive tackle speed rush him in this past game and almost got Will Howard killed. So
fair. Chuck, where are you at with this, man? You're dialed in more than me, and I know you talked to Dylan and stuff. So where are you feeling? What do you feel?
To Terry's point about Tegra, when they said it in the preseason, they were talking about right guard, and they asked Ryan Day about Tegra. Are they repping him still at tackle? And he said, no, we don't want to do that with Tegra because we want him to get really good at one position instead of just good at both. And they didn't want to load him up. And I said at the time, I like that strategy, but in this situation, it's definitely a gamble with the lack of depth at tackle because of all these guys you got now playing on the interior. Mm-hmm. Tegra has the best build to be a tackle. He's the biggest. He's the longest. He's got good feet. We've seen it in high school. But like Terry said, he is a wild card now. He'll screw up sometimes, big time. But I thought that was a big gamble. And I think that had they done that Tegra might be the first choice here instead of Donovan. But since they didn't do that, and he's quite rusty on it, but Terry also makes a good point. Like, what the hell has Donovan been doing? Nothing. He's been doing nothing at tackle.
Right.
But yeah, Tegra is absolutely body fit, like the best. Donovan's much, shorter arm, shorter limbed. But Donovan just being a senior, so smart, such a team player, I just feel a certain level of trust with him that I don't feel with Tegra. So my best five would still be, we're going to work with Donovan. We're going to start it immediately after the Oregon game, though, not right here. Like that's what I would have done. Immediately after the Oregon game, we're going to start with Donovan at left tackle. Austin comes back in at left guard, where he started 2 games for Donovan when the hamstring was bum.
And played well.
Played quite well. Now, last game was not his worst game ever, for sure. But he has put good stuff on film so far this year. Mm-hmm. At center, of course, Seth, right guard Tegra, Fryer at right tackle. As for Hinsman, I do respect the situation that he was put into last year, shoved in to center duty as a second-year kid unexpectedly when Luke Whippler entered the draft, and nobody was expecting that.
Shocked
and I like the kid a lot. But what he's put on film this year, it's not been good. It's not been good, in my opinion. Not good enough. And while I'm not against them giving him a shot throughout the week, I suspect it's not been good enough to get a shot on the field.
It hasn't, man. That was just kind of a favorite type thing. That's what I was saying.
Like him.
I like him. Yeah, I like him. I like him for the podcast too.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do stuff like that.
So here's where I'm at, and I put a lot of thought into this because I'm just nerdy like that. I guess we do this because we are football nerdy, I guess. So firstly, I would say that moving Tegra to left tackle, the reason I don't like it is because he primarily repped at right tackle. We saw what happened when we moved Simmons over last year. Everything is opposite. Your jab is opposite. Your hips are opposite. Everything is opposite from what he would have been practicing in the first place. Point number 1 for me was that. Number 2, Chuck, I'm in line with you. Donnie has played on the left side. I don't like his length. He's probably quick enough to he can manage it. He's a game manager there. So yes, I would go Donnie, Austin, Seth, Tegra, and Fryer. And I don't understand, and maybe you guys know, maybe I just don't know. They just Zen did okay against Oregon, but to just throw Zen out there because he's the next tackle. And not really one of your best 5 linemen, and then do that for 2 weeks. And then he gets hurt, and you're in this position where you probably could have had 3 weeks into this with Donnie at tackle in your best 5. And Jack, I'm sure you already hit on this because you do so many shows, but am I thinking about this incorrectly? As if I were the coach, I would have said, okay, Justin Fry, who are your best five, and who can play where, and how do we put this together? Rather than just, okay, Zen, go.
What do we hear, Chad, from these coaches nonstop? It's about the process, right? The process.
Yeah, process.
They've got everything mapped out. They've thought of everything. Before you got to think about it, there is a set list of rules. And on offensive line, they have always told us they are trying to get their best five out there, right? That's the rule. Well, after the Oregon game, you lose your left tackle. We know Zen Michalski isn't your best five. We know that Zen Michalski probably isn't in your best 7 or 8. We know this.
Do we know that?
We do, because he would have been the first one off the bench if he, or in the Bison package. And that is, right now, that's Austin.
Good point. My bad. Good point. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah.
My bad, Chuck.
Zen, definitely not that option. But they chose to put him in my opinion, because it was the easiest and caused the least amount of disruption, which I understand. However, I got an issue with it now after seeing him in action, that you were watching this and this dude, he's been with you 4 years, did a decent job run blocking. The pass pro, it looked to me like he is incapable of it at this level consistently. I mean, it was just one of the more poor performances we've ever seen by a left tackle at Ohio State. And you were watching this all along, all season. You know who this guy is, man. You're his coach. And you chose to waste that time because, let's be honest, if Zen wasn't injured, do we think they're rolling him out there again for Penn State? I don't. So I think you wasted that time trying to wish this into existence, to wish that Zen would go do that. I think it was borderline irresponsible. I honestly do. I think his pass pro score on PFF was like a 14.
Yeah, it was
not familiar.
I have it. I didn't pull it up because I felt bad for him.
55 is like a bad score. He was a 14. It was the worst performance I've ever seen. But no, I think it was irresponsible. I think you wasted 3 weeks. You could have been gelling with what they're going to go out at Penn State with.
Yeah.
And here I'm getting worked up. And I didn't want to get worked up today. I want to be positive today, guys. I promise you. Like, I'm ready for Penn State.
Well, in the times, too, that I saw, and I felt like they put Seth in a really awful position because I think Fry basically told Donnie, protect Zen, like help Zen, double with Zen, everything helps Zen. And then there were times that, like, Donnie, I don't know if he got up in his head because the one time the tackle just ran right between him and Seth. Because he was trying to kick. Do you remember? He tried to kick out to help Zen because he didn't. I was like, what is? I was gonna put it up. I have the video and it's on my phone, and I was like, I can't. I feel too bad for Zen to do that. So, and he's hurt. So, but yeah, best five. I think that makes sense. Dan messaged us in our group thread, Chuck, right now, and he says, I know you guys are recording right now. Here's my commentary for Ryan Day 3 minutes into the press conference. He's douchier than ever.
Oh, the other.
So there's your Dan tidbit for the day.
So you got Ryan and both the coordinators today. My bad, go.
Yeah, Terry's right. Ryan and both coordinators. Dan's watching the presser. We're not watching it. He said he's douchier than ever, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if you guys, Dan has officially bailed on Ryan Day as of this week. He said he is officially done. He is now on the opposite end of the argument. I'm not there myself.
No.
I certainly understand those that are. I don't think it's a crazy take, which I would have last year. I'm starting to feel a lot of the similar feelings, but I'm certainly not there. I definitely think if he goes and wins this game at Penn State, which I think we will, all of a sudden there's a whole lot of people that feel a lot different. But I do feel that this is a very big game in relation to Ryan Day and the Ohio State fan base. I think there's a lot of people who are on edge here and about to tip on him. I really do feel that.
Yep.
You guys know, you only can lose so many chunks of the fan base before that noise just gets too damn loud, and it's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I say something about that?
Go,
real quick?
Terry.
Sorry,
go. Listen, we're all here having fun.
Just about Ryan Day. I want to be out on him so bad because of where I feel like the program is, but I can't bring myself to be completely out on the head coach in a year that we, the fans, deemed as natty or bust. The season's not over yet.
Yeah, man, we got to see this.
we could go out there. I mean, we could go out there and beat Penn State bad. I'm not saying we will, but what if it does happen? All those people are going to be like, oh wait, hold on, I never said that. Like, now, granted, I'm one of those people who I will say some stuff, especially in a group chat. Get me in that kind of setting, not on a camera. Nah, but I'm sure everybody does. But I don't think that we can be completely out on Ryan Day yet, just because we deem this season as natty or bust, and that is still the only thing that could make that. Like, let's say we win the natty, the only thing that can make that still a sour season is if we lost to Michigan. I don't expect that to happen. The natty is still in front of us. I don't know. I can't be all the way out on Day just yet, but if he doesn't reach his goals this year, I think that he's shown enough where, I mean, they're not going to fire him, but I don't know.
So listen, on Saturday after the game, Dan went on a tweet rampage. You guys know this, and then he was on a text rampage too, because I had it in the thread and then in my personal, like in our personal one.
That's hilarious.
And so then all of a sudden I start getting Twitter DMs telling me that Dan has lost his mind, and where am I at now? Firstly, I was, Saturday evening I was with my kids, and we went to a farm, and a local farm and stuff where they, it's like a petting thing. But the cell service was terrible, but like, they wanted to know my perspective, and I'm not out on Day, and you guys know I'm not a Ryan Day apologist. I'm really not. And I used to say, well, who you're going to get, but then I started looking at, I'll take Oregon, for instance. You got Dan Lanning. He finally wins the big game a couple years into it. You go back and look at Kirby, his first few years. Now you look what Sark's doing. Do we, and Ryan Day is a young coach, and then you got Sig in Indiana, and then I really like Jonathan Smith up at Michigan State. He's doing as much as he can with what he's got. But so to answer the question, no, I'm not out yet. Is my statement, and but yeah, the noise will get really loud if things don't go really well down the stretch here. And just to be clear, I will never, Ohio State, if you're not listening, but I will never pull my donation. It's not going to happen. But if we go 6-6, maybe. I didn't do it after the Fickle year. I'm not going to do it now. But all right. So underlying interesting current for the Penn State game, Jerry. I know you wanted to talk about Penn State. So we have Will Howard, who grew up in Pennsylvania, wanted to play for Penn State. They didn't think he was good enough. And then we have Drew Aller, if he plays, from Ohio. I think he wanted to play for Ohio State. I don't think we offered, or if we did, it was late. And he ends up going to Penn State. So they're facing each other on Saturday. Motivation for both? Yes, maybe. Where are you guys at on that?
Go ahead, Chuck.
Definitely Will Howard. He told us as much, right? I definitely think that Will Howard was a bigger Penn State fan than Drew was an Ohio State fan, because Ohio State did come a calling at the end, and he was locked in. He was all Penn State all the way. He had the opportunity. Of course, I don't blame him, right? Usually when a guy leaves Ohio, chooses somewhere else, if they were offered by Ohio State, I generally don't root too hard for him. Not the case with Drew, because he was already locked in, and Ohio State came very late in the cycle. So I still root for him. I don't think, well, actually, based on the performance last year, where he had that really, really rough performance in that press conference afterwards,
where he cried.
It was sad, man. It was really sad. I think that with these two being ranked so high, like, this is just massive for him. But I feel like this is different for Will. This feels very personal between Will and the program. I don't feel like Aller has that same vibe to him. I think we're going to see Will, and it might work against him, really, but I think we're going to see a different kind of fire. By the way, I love the kind of fire he's been bringing, a little bit of the ownership he's been taking the offense. We really needed him. When you think back to last year, the leadership coming from the quarterback position was just non-existent. I think it's great, and I think we're really going to see it against Penn State. And it's one of the reasons that obviously we need Will to play great to win this game. I think he's going to.
Okay, so I'm going to stick with Will Howard, and I'm going to prompt you guys with a question, because this is something that I was really, really frustrated with on Saturday, and kind of with the Oregon game too. why aren't they letting him make checks at the line of scrimmage? Like, it was clear a couple times the way that Nebraska had their defense stacked that they did not want, like the one time they ran into the strong side, there was no reason to, like, it was like, I'm looking at it going, it was clear to me that you should not do that. You should check and then hit the hitch, period. Is this by design, or did he miss it? I've watched it again, and I can't tell. Like, I couldn't tell a couple of times. Did he just make the wrong run read because it's an RPO, or was this day just saying hand the freaking ball off? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I definitely saw multiple mistakes from him, and from that sense. As far as like checking it on the line, though, wasn't Will Howard wearing like a wrist brace early in the year with like the plays on it and stuff? So he's probably not to the point where within this offense he can make a ton of checks and stuff. But I mean, he's a veteran, so you would think, but I mean, CJ Stroud never even got to that level where Ryan Day felt comfortable with him doing stuff like that. So I don't know. And he was obviously started 2 years here. So,
yeah. Jack, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, as far as the like misreads, that was honestly uncharacteristic of Will Howard, because that's one thing that he's been phenomenal at. But go ahead, Chuck.
I don't think it was a misread, Terry. I think those were not live
None of them
reads. I don't think those were live reads. I think they were straight up handoffs. I think they were Kyle McCord. I don't think
that's even worse.
Yeah,
that's a horrible thought.
That they were, because they were so blatantly bad,
right?
And he is so good at that and so experienced at that.
Yes.
I don't think they were live reads. I think they were straight handoffs. And the way he put it in the post game press conference, he said that we didn't put many. They asked him the question, and I can't recall exactly how he worded it, but the way he worded it is what first got me thinking about this. And I wish I had the verbiage for you guys, but basically he said it in a way that made me feel like he went against maybe what they said later on in the game and pulled some of them. But I think that this is Day tightening up and not wanting him to run. And I don't think those were live reads, which also, as a quarterback who, can you imagine how irritated he is when we're all looking at that going, Will, you idiot? It's not even a live read. He's being told to hand the ball up. Now, just my theory. I think that there's a lot behind it, but I don't think they were all live.
I mean, imagine being a running back, dude. Your design is literally to leave this guy unblocked, and they're going to hand you the ball, and good luck, because this guy's unblocked and hitting you in the face as soon as you get the ball. What?
Yeah. I have to go back and watch it now and see if it was predetermined, because sometimes, and I'm pretty adept at watching to see what the ride is like for an RPO. Like, you can usually tell with the quarterback with his ride, what if he's going to pull it, you can see, watch his feet. And I just didn't feel like I just didn't get that vibe. Like, it didn't look like it. And really, Will didn't even carry out the fake very much, which tells me like it was predetermined from the snap. It was just weird. Like, the whole kit and caboodle, I'll say, was just weird. So Ohio State did get good news. So the Big Ten officiating continues to suck. I still don't know what targeting is. That's a joke. I'm being facetious. But so Ohio State gets Arvell Reese back for the first half of the game. Chuck, I know you covered it yesterday. And I do think that that's big. And I thought Arvell played a much better game Saturday than he did against Oregon. So firstly, what did you think of the hit? And then, by the letter of the law, is that, like, obviously it wasn't targeting. But what can we do, like, as fans or in general, what can people do about this? But Arvell back, and what did you think of the hit?
I thought it was such a listen. The law, and I feel like this rule has been changed like 6 different times. I don't know if it's just me, guys.
Yep.
This thing started off as like helmet to helmet, and then it just keeps like being different moving targets. In the law, I get the intention of it, man. You don't want to hurt people. You want to get headhunters out of the game. You want to change that whole philosophy, and they've been successful. We used to watch football, and the goal of a safety was to separate the ball and the receiver. Yep. Like they came in with those intentions. That is not the intention anymore. The rule has been successful in that way. It is time to relax this stuff a little, man. Not go the other way with it, and they're going the other way. They're making it more strict. The rule does not understand physics. Arvell Reese is committed.
There it is.
He's already committed. The guy dips down. His shoulder hits him in the head. At every point of the entire existence of the sport of football, this is a clean, good play. And you're going to kick a guy out of the game for that. It's absurd. I don't know how many times. This is the one thing about the game of football, I think, that everybody agrees on. This is stupid. Can we do something? And they don't do anything. I don't get it. I don't get it at all, other than being fearful of lawsuits. But, I'm tired of them hiding behind this. This is just ridiculous that you're throwing kids out for this.
Can we change? Go ahead, Terry.
Go ahead.
Can we change the penalty? Do you remember? No. So let me do two things for you, Chuck. First, you and I grew up watching Ronnie Lott and Eric Turner and Ed Reed. And Terry, I don't know how old you are, but those guys would come in with the crown of the helmet and just blast guys, like absolutely blast guys. So yes, they've done what they set out to do. And then I remember, and I don't know if the NFL still does this, because I don't watch a lot of the NFL anymore, but there was a 5-yard and a 15-yard face mask. So can we do something like that in college? Like, hey, obviously this was probably yes, physics come into play. Like he was already committed. He was going to hit him no matter what. He looked like he was actually kind of bracing himself. He didn't leave with the crown of the helmet. He didn't launch. Here's a 5-yard penalty. It's not an automatic first down. The kid gets to stay in the game. If you, for whatever, call it, unnecessary roughness, whatever you want to call it. And then there's real targeting, which is the Marvin Harrison Jr. in the Peach Bowl game. Launched, clearly was trying to take him out, helmet to helmet. Those are obvious to me. They're very obvious. And so it removes subjectivity. So if it's helmet to helmet, launch, 15-yard penalty, you're gone. Anything else, head, neck, shoulder, didn't launch, football play, football move, 5 yards, not an automatic first down, and kid can stay in the game. Like that's how I would do it if I was like the almighty rules person for NCAA. But what do you am I wackadoo for that? What do you guys think?
No, man, honestly, that's a good idea. It's just one of the things that sucks, man. That's really what it is to me. Like they're not going to change it for the better, I don't think, anytime soon. And it's just like everything's subject to, well, you hit this person too hard, so now we're going to put it in slow motion and see if the right pieces touch each other that way.
The right pieces touch each other.
Yeah, the right pieces touch each other, because if it did, then you're going to be out of this game and possibly next game.
Right.
I kind of like the idea of being able to appeal it and have that player be available for the next game. Like, that's kind of cool, but that doesn't help you if it happens in the first quarter. Then you miss an entire game and there's nothing you can do about it. Losing one player, as we can see right now with Simmons, losing one player off of your team can throw off a whole entire unit and your whole entire team, really. So I don't know. I do think that they need to continue. They need to review them without having like the mindset of this person is guilty automatically when they're reviewing it. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily very rarely do you see one get overturned. Of course, we are the ones that saw one get overturned with Marv in the Peach Bowl, but you very rarely see them get overturned. When they call it, they usually end up standing. So, I don't know.
There's too much subjectivity.
Do you guys remember when we used to see a big hit and get excited?
Yes.
And now, when we see a big hit, the first thing we do is go like this and look for flags.
Yeah.
It is such a different feel to the entire game. And to instruct these officials to throw the flag more, just throw it if it's in question, and then we'll review it, this is the absolute wrong way to go. And I think that everyone agrees. And I've been actually saying, Chad, what you're saying forever. There are targeting penalties that, by the spirit of the rule, are what they're trying to get rid of. The Eric Turners, the Ronnie Lott hits, the Georgia hit. You're trying to get rid of that. You're trying to get that philosophy, that mindset out of the game. When you see it, you know what it is. We all know what it is.
There's no doubt.
Throw those guys out of the game. I don't care. But like Terry said, and I love the way he put it, we're going to slow it down and see if the right parts touch the right parts, which is exactly what they're doing. Right? Exactly what they're doing. They're seeing if the right parts click with the right parts. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're out of the game. Absurd. Makes no sense.
Yep.
But will we see it change? Probably not.
No.
And it's stupid, right? When you look at the rule and then you look at like the two plays, if you just take Ohio State's two plays, like they could look at those two plays and realize that something needs changed. Like Arvell Reese gets called for targeting. The guy drops the ball, bounces up, tries to recover the fumble. Okay. Marvin Harrison Jr. gets hit, is on the ground, knocked out unconscious, basically. And that one's not targeting. But this other one is, where this guy just got hit hard, but jumped right back up because he got hit in the chest. He jumped right back up and tried to recover the fumble. And it's just like, something has to give with your rule. You can't, like, this guy got knocked out. You don't get knocked out from getting hit in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened before? I mean,
well, Jack, I sent you this you and Dan this in our pod thread. I tweeted that about no one knows what targeting is, and bro, it went viral. Like I had like 95,000 views, and I had people from the South really, really angry with me, saying, "You guys, SEC football, blah blah blah," So I actually had to turn the notifications off because I was just like, I don't argue with people on Twitter. I don't do it. Like, you guys know this about me. I don't argue with strangers on the internet. I have my opinion. I think that the Arvell wasn't targeting and the Marvin was. So I'm going to we're approaching an hour. So I have two things.
Guys, I got an update here.
Okay.
I want to get your opinion on it. I just got a text. Dave asked about an update on Zen Mihalski. Said we'll know more after today. If he can play, Dave said Mihalski will start at left tackle. And there's another one in here that I found really interesting. Where is it? Go ahead, Chad. You keep rolling, and I'm going to find this other one.
No, you're good. I mean, I had said that as far as Mihalski goes, he wasn't good at 100%. He wasn't even average when he was 100%. Why would you put him out there at less than 100% and have him be even worse? That makes zero sense to me, man.
Listen, I'm gonna push back on you a little bit, Chad. And I know that everyone says Jucky was talking about how Zen had like a terrible game. I went through the game and there was 9 plays that I counted in the game where Zen looked terrible. Now that's a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not coming on here.
Harry.
Listen, I know that's a lot. But on the rest of the plays in the game, to me, he didn't just look serviceable. He looked really good. And that's where I run into a small issue. Like, if they could fix 6 of those plays, now that he has experience in playing against the ones of another team, if they can fix 6 of those plays, he can get a lot better. I agree with you guys that I don't think that's probably our best option because we want to get the best 6 out there. And I already told you, if it was me, I would put Taker at left tackle. That's where I would be at with it. And then hope he doesn't make 15 mistakes instead of 9. But when Zen, on the plays where Zen did not make mistakes, he looked really good. He was moving guys in the run game, not just like getting hands on the right person. He was actually moving guys out of the way. When he didn't trip over his own feet, he looked okay in pass rush. Now he tripped over his own feet like 5 times and let him go free. So whatever, but
Abdul Carter
I don't
will
know.
eat him alive, man.
Abdul Carter's got the same amount of sacks as JT Tuimoloau. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, I'm not saying he's bad. Abdul Carter's a freak, man, and it's possible that he might eat him alive. But are we sure that Abdul Carter's not going to eat Donnie Jackson alive on the edge?
Oh yeah.
Are we sure that he's not going to eat Tegra Shabola alive on the edge?
Yeah.
And I've seen a big, slow, white defensive tackle from Nebraska beat Austin Searville with a speed rush.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, watching that game, I appreciated a lot of the good things that Zen did in that game. I know he did a lot of bad things, and as I'm watching it, I'm convincing myself, right? I'm really telling myself, I'm like, he's doing pretty good. He's doing pretty good, and then he does something like absolutely terrible, like gives up, doesn't even get his hands on the guy who's rushing, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to defend that? But I truly believe that the plays where he didn't make mistakes and actually like get ran by, I think he looked good on those plays, and like he could actually make something out of being that a left tackle at Ohio State.
I will say that I do agree with you in the run game. There were definitely some plays on that film on the All 22 where I was like, okay, that's better than I thought live. And that's definitely promising. My issue is the pass protection looks to me like it's unfixable. I could be wrong, but when I see a guy,
you could be right. You could be right though.
Who's, there are certain prerequisites, right? Like you need to have a certain amount of dexterity and foot speed. I don't see it from him. And I don't know if there's any amount of coaching that's going to fix that guy from being a liability in pass protection. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time I was wrong. I'm certainly rooting for the kid. I hate the amount of crap that I've given him. I hate the amount of crap that he's gotten. But I blame this on, this is a coaching thing to me. This is not even about him. He can only be as good as he can be, right? Like I'm not a left tackle. I suck compared to that guy. But
I thought all along Mahalski probably would be best at guard. Even the last couple of years, I thought like the way that he's kind of a road grader. And same with Saraveld, he's kind of a road grader. Like the high school that Saraveld came from, they don't really even believe in the forward pass. So they literally ran the veer. Not a joke. Like but I don't know, man.
You got to follow up, guys.
Go ahead.
Follow up on Zen being the starter if he's healthy. Day pulls back a bit and says he'll evaluate it. He did not grade out a champion and he had some tough plays, but they like what they've seen from him in practice and they want to keep building up his confidence. On Tegra Shabola and Austin Saraveld, they're playing solid football, but we need them to take the next step, and that's obvious.
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah, both of them. When I was talking about Austin getting beat by that D tackle, Tegra got beat just the same way, just a little bit different. Instead of getting hit with speed to the outside, he got beat to the inside and crossed his face multiple times. So,
what was interesting about those Nebraska defensive tackles is those were some big dudes, and it looked like they were wearing quarterback shoulder pads. Did you notice how small their shoulder?
Yeah.
I mean, random, but okay. So my first question is, I'm going to end with these two. Firstly, from your perspective, is the sky falling in Columbus? Like this, I mean this genuinely. This is not hyperbole. You've got my normal co-host who's all the way out on our head coach. We just came off an uninspiring performance against Nebraska. We lost to Oregon. Our left tackle, who we couldn't lose, absolutely could not lose, we've lost. And we were already scheming around our sort of serviceable right tackle. We averaged 2.1 yards a carry. We have these two elite running backs. Everybody's frustrated. We've lost the heart and soul of our defense in Lathan Ransom for who knows how long he's day to day. I just listed off a whole bunch of negatives. Terry's feeling positive. Juck's listening keenly, I can see. But is the sky falling? Like, let everybody know where you at. Obviously, Terry, you don't think so.
Yeah, I want to hear what Juck has to say.
All right.
Oh man, listen, absolutely not. I want to make it clear that when your when your goal is the national championship, you look at everything through a prism of the standard is perfection. So you nitpick the crap out of everything.
Right.
But when you pull back and look at it from a distance and look at the rest of the competition and you look at everything about college football, this team's right in it, man. They're right in it. There's no doubt about that. You look at what happened at Nebraska and you say, okay, how does that project forward? And we do this every week, and every week we get one more data point to add on to the whole puzzle. And this is what we do, and at times that may come across with a negative tone, but that's only because we're trying to win a national championship and have a realistic shot to do so. So everything matters so much. It's this much difference between these top 4 or 5 teams. This much.
One play if it's Oregon.
If that comes across negative, I apologize. I certainly don't mean to. I'm just saying, like, if this team didn't have a shot to win a national championship, I wouldn't be so focused on these little tiny things. This team's absolutely still in it. They win at Penn State, buddy. There's a totally different feel, and a totally different feel in the locker room and everything else and around the country if they go into Happy Valley, one of the top 3 toughest places to play in the country, and win that game. And they might win convincingly. And all of a sudden, it's right back. Boom, Buckeyes, Buckeyes, Buckeyes. You know how it goes, guys. Yep. So hell no, this guy's not falling.
Then they're sitting at number 2, and half the fan base is saying that the whole season's over, but we're at number 2 in the country. but let me bounce off what Juck said real quick too. I think that it doesn't necessarily the sky is definitely not falling, right? But I think that basically what happened is once we lost to Oregon, it became like a traditional college football season. We can't lose now. You got to win. Right. If you lose one game, that can cost you. It was like that last year, dude. And going forward, you know, every year beating Penn State and beating Michigan and going to the Big Ten is what's going to determine the outcome of our season. So it's not anything different. We just need to go do what we know that we can do. I guess saying no when you're talking about Ryan Day beating Michigan that's questionable, but I would think that we expect to beat them this year. And then you go take care of business at Penn State like you always do. I know it's going to be a tough game. I know they're a good team. They shouldn't be better than you. They should not be better than Ohio State. So you just go take care of business. And then obviously, you know, if you get to the Big Ten championship, you're going to be looking at a really big time game, which is not always the case because it was like the East-West thing. But I think that's better. You have a game that no matter what in this game, you're going to still make it to the playoffs if you make it to the Big Ten championship. So you're getting like that big game atmosphere. That's a good practice game. Ryan Day needs practice games and big games, honestly. So we need to make it to that Big Ten championship so we can get that rep in.
All right. Yeah. I'm with you. The sky is not falling. I listed off a whole bunch of negative things just to kind of like pump it back up. But Terry, you kind of took my thunder, honestly. It is like every other year now where you cannot lose. Everything they want to do is still in front of them. I do think the road's a little harder this year with Indiana, other than I've watched Indiana play defense. So they're not great on defense. And I agree with you. I think that there's an opportunity here, and Ryan Day can silence the haters. And I did it on purpose, but Ohio State is one terrible officiating mistake and bad clock management play away from beating the number 1 team in the country. And after losing their probably their best offensive lineman or besides Seth. And I like their chances in Happy Valley. So that's my final, let's sign off with this. Call your shot. What's your score? And at the end of the game Saturday, is everybody feeling good?
Let's hear it, Jack.
24-21, Ohio State Buckeyes. Everybody's feeling fantastic.
I think that they're going to play like they played against Oregon, and I think that's going to be too much for Penn State. I think they're a little fraudulent. 31-17 is what I'm going with.
Ooh, T.
Oof. All right.
That's what I said earlier, so I got to stick with it, man.
Okay.
I mean, nothing's happened to make me change it.
Yeah, Jack and I were actually, you and I were really close. I have 27-21 Ohio State.
Yeah. And now I could easily, real quick before we get out of here, I could easily see a turnover, a fluky play, something like that happens, and now instead of 31-17, 24-28. You know what I mean? Like that could easily happen. So that's not really a crazy score prediction, but I think that we have to get it right eventually, right? Either he has to get it right eventually or get out of here. So why not this week?
Right. There's 2 things that I look for in every game. Seth McLaughlin is good for 1 bad snap a game, and Will Howard is good for 1 what the are you doing throw per game. And that could be the difference in what you're talking about, Terry. Like both of those things. Mm-hmm. And then there's always seems to be like 1 pass coverage breakdown somewhere along the way. So those are the things that if they clean those up in big games, and Will Howard played amazing in the Oregon game. Now Saturday, I think he missed a couple throws, but yeah, I'm with you. It sounds like we all have them winning. Sounds like we're all feeling good on Saturday. Come about 4:00, and so if you were going to summarize, the weekend ahead, where do you think Ohio State lands on the AP poll? I guess I can leave us with this after Saturday. Are they number 2? Because they're not going to jump Oregon.
I think 2 or 3.
Okay.
I mean, it just depends on what the other teams do this weekend that are right around that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit, Oregon might lose this weekend to Michigan. Then Ohio State's number 1.
Oregon's going to score 50 on Michigan.
Wouldn't that be amazing if they lost to Michigan? Oh my gosh!
I don't want them to lose though.
Chuck, I can't believe I'm putting it on camera saying this, but I hope that they lose to Michigan.
Do you?
I don't want them to.
I do. I hope they lose to Michigan. I hope they do.
Terry, they're going to be so insufferable if they beat Oregon. Oh my god.
That's okay. That's okay because we get to beat up on them in a couple weeks.
No, I want Oregon to win.
And they still got to play Indiana, who's going to beat them. So,
yeah,
I want Oregon to win out, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Chad. I'm feeling like a duck-eyed today.
Yeah.
Not me, dude.
Right.
Not me. I don't want them coming over here taking over the conference thinking they're all like that. So
I'm with you on that though too. They are getting a little big for their britches sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you, Terry. College Football Stops coming by, and Juck from Juck on Bucks. As I always tease him, he's the hottest thing in Buckeye media since Buckeye media started. So someday he's going to have a nationally syndicated broadcast, and maybe he'll let me run IT for him. So, but you guys, thank you guys for coming by, filling in for Dan, the vice president of the Housing Association of America. And you guys will be back on Friday. And one more time, guys, tell them where they can find you.
Just CFB_stop on Twitter mostly. And then catch me on the Fans Edge on the Best Damn Media platform every Wednesday. That's our national show. And then actually tomorrow morning, so we'll have 2. I'll have 2. Be there. Buckeye Roast in the morning on Best Damn Media, and then the Fans Edge on Best Damn Media.
I'm on every morning at 9:30 on Menace to Sports or Juck on Bucks. Come join me live for the live show. We go about an hour and a half every morning talking college football, primarily Buckeyes, Buckeye focused, as I'm a Buckeye, but all college football, the whole landscape. We get after it all. Follow me at Juck on Bucks. I'll be the following day on the Buckeye Roast where Terry's going to be. Do check those guys out. They're our good buddies as well.
Yeah.
Chad, thank you so much for having me, my friend. Terry, great job today, buddy.
Yep.
You too, man. Chad, thanks a lot, brother.
Absolutely. I love having you guys on. It's great. It's always good. It's always good fun and get difference of opinions. And but yeah, guys, we'll see you on Friday. Dan will be back, and enjoy your week and stay safe. And as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.